Some people live in mansions and still sleep in scarcity. Others live humbly and think in empires. Let me tell you something. Most people never realize money doesn't solve a poverty mindset. It only magnifies it. If you're undisciplined poor, you'll be undisciplined rich. If you're confused poor, you'll be confused rich. The difference between the truly wealthy and the eternally broke isn't just knowledge, it's how they think when no one's watching. Because wealth doesn't chase noise, it follows order, vision, and belief. I've met people who made $1 million and lost it just as fast. Why? Because they changed their bank account but never upgraded their belief system. They built a fortune on sand. The structure looked impressive, but the foundation was confusion, emotion, and wishful thinking. And let me tell you something. Wealth can't survive in a mind ruled by chaos. It's not noise that attracts wealth, it's order. It's vision, it's belief in discipline. It's a mind trained to think in strategy, not in survival. When I was young, I thought the secret was hustle. So I worked harder, I stayed longer, but the money didn't stay. Then one day, a mentor looked me straight in the eye and said, "Jim, your money won't grow until your thinking does. You're trying to fix the fruit without touching the root." And from that moment, I stopped chasing dollars and started chasing wisdom. You see, wealth doesn't begin in the wallet, it begins in the mindset. That's where the soil is. And if the soil is bitter, the fruit will be too. If your thoughts are full of doubt, fear, scarcity, you'll keep making the same poor decisions no matter how much money you touch, because you'll never out-earn your philosophy. So I've got a question for you, and be honest with yourself. Are you thinking like someone who expects to expand, or someone who's just trying to survive? Are you planning for growth or praying for a break? Are you operating from strategy or from stress? Because the difference between the wealthy and the broke isn't luck. It's not even just education. It's how they think when no one is watching. Wealthy minds think about leverage, value, timing. Poor minds think about luck, comfort, and winning the lottery. So if you're ready to change your finances, first change your frame. If you want to change your life, start by changing the way you see yourself in that life. Because here's the truth. If you don't train your thinking to attract wealth, you'll keep pushing it away and not even know it. But once your mind becomes rich, the world has no choice but to follow. Let's begin. If you adopt the philosophy of invest first, your entire financial future will begin to shift. Most people live in reverse. They spend their money, and if there's anything left over, maybe a few coins in a jar, or what remains after the bills and the cravings they think about saving or investing. But let me ask you a question. What would happen if a farmer ate all his seed and saved what was left for planting? That harvest would never come, because it's not about what's left, it's about what you plant first. When I was younger, I used to live that backward philosophy. I made a little money, spent it fast, and hoped something would change. It didn't. But one day my mentor looked at me and said, "Don't wait until you have a lot to start investing. You start with a little, and then the lot will come." That line rewired something inside me. From then on, no matter how small my income, I set aside a portion, sometimes just $10, sometimes $5, but the point wasn't the amount. The point was building the habit, the philosophy. You see, it's not the dollar that makes you wealthy, it's the discipline. And discipline, practiced consistently, turns into results. A person who earns $1,000 a month and invests $100 with purpose will be wealthier over time than the person who earns $10,000 a month but invests nothing. Why? Because it's not about the cash, it's about the character. I often say money is a mirror. It reflects your values. If you value comfort first, you'll spend first. If you value growth, you'll invest first. That one decision, what you do with your money, first tells the truth about your future. Now, some people say, "But I don't make enough to invest." That's the exact reason why you must. You build the muscle now so it's strong when the heavy lifting comes. It's like saying, "I'll go to the gym when I'm fit." No, you go now, and you grow into the strength. Wealthy people don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left. They decide at the beginning what gets invested, whether it's in a business, a skill, a fund, or their own education. That decision creates a mental hierarchy. investment over indulgence, seed before snack, long-term over immediate. If you adopt this way of thinking, not just once, but every time, you'll train your mind to prioritize your future over your impulse. And when the mind aligns with purpose, the world starts shifting in your favor. The right people show up. The right opportunities start appearing. Why? Because you're finally ready for them. You've proven through your actions that you can be trusted with more. So remember this, don't invest what's left after spend what's left after investing. It's the philosophy, not the figure, that builds wealth. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Wealth has less to do with numbers and far more to do with attitude. See, I've met people who earn 6 figures and stay broke. I've met others who earn modestly and somehow grow a little fortune over time. What's the difference? It's not the amount, it's the attitude. Your relationship with money will either be a partnership or a prison, and that all starts with how you think about it. You see, poor thinking says, if I just had more, things would be better. But let's be honest, if more was the answer, most lottery winners would be set for life. Yet many end up back where they started or worse. Why? Because the amount didn't change the attitude. But shift the attitude, and even a small amount starts working in your favor. You water a seed with consistency, not a flood. The seed doesn't need a downpour. It needs discipline. When I was younger, I remember thinking, if I just earned more, I'd be fine. But the truth is, when I started earning more, my spending grew just as fast. There I was, more income, same stress. Because nothing changed up here, points to head. That's when a mentor of mine told me something that stuck for life. He said, don't wish for more money, work on becoming the kind of person who manages it better. That was the shift. From then on, I focused less on how much I had and more on what I did with what I had. Attitude is everything. Wealthy people approach money with purpose. They respect even the small bills. They know that how you handle the little determines whether you're ready for more. They see opportunity in every paycheck, no matter how modest. They ask, what can I grow? Not, what can I blow? And let me say something. Here, intention is a wealth strategy. If you spend with intention, save with intention, and invest with intention, you develop a mindset that attracts more. Why? Because the universe and life itself trusts people who steward what they already have. But if you're careless with a little, why would life hand you a lot? So the next time you say, it's not enough, I want you to pause and ask instead, am I enough to manage this well? Because if you prove yourself faithful with a little, you'll become the kind of person who can handle a lot. You don't need a windfall to begin building wealth. You need a change in approach. Start right where you are with what you have, but do it on purpose. Be intentional, be consistent, and keep the right attitude. Because that attitude, not the amount, will determine your altitude. I used to think the greatest threat to financial success was lack of money. But over the years, I've learned that it's not lack of money. It's lack of control. Not control over the economy, the market, or your paycheck, but control over your emotions. That's what determines whether you build wealth or burn through it. Emotional spending is one of the most expensive habits you can develop, and the sad thing is, most people don't even know they're doing it. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. We've all had that moment you feel down, tired, maybe just a little bored, and suddenly the mind whispers, you deserve something nice. And off you go, maybe to the mall, maybe online, and soon you've got a package on the way or a receipt in your hand, and for a moment it feels good. But let me tell you, relief is not the same as reward. What feels good now might cost you deeply later. See, poor people often spend emotionally. They buy to feel better, to look better, or to keep up with someone else's image, and every time they do, they hand their future over to their feelings. But the wealthy, they think differently. They don't ask, do I want this right now? They ask, what will this do for me in the long run? That one question changes everything. Because that's the difference between consumption and investment, between relief and reward. I remember years ago, I had a young man come up to me after a seminar. He said, I don't know why I can't seem to save. Every time I get a little ahead, something comes up. I asked him, what came up last month? He said, well, my friends went out and I didn't want to be left out. I said, that's not an emergency, that's emotional spending. You didn't buy a burger, you bought approval. And he paused, looked at the floor, and nodded. That moment hit him hard. The wealthy build habits around calm decision-making. They build space between emotion and action. They have rules. One of mine: I never make a significant financial decision on a low-energy day. Why? Because urgency makes bad deals look good. And feelings, while valid, are not financial advisors. And here's the secret: money doesn't multiply in chaos. It grows in clarity. If you want your wealth to grow, you've got to grow stronger than your impulses. You've got to be able to say, just because I feel it doesn't mean I fund it. That's maturity. That's wealth wisdom. So here's the challenge. Every time you feel the urge to spend impulsively, pause. Ask, what's driving this? If it's fear, boredom, or ego, walk away. But if it's purpose, growth, or long-term value, maybe that's something worth considering. The poor react. The rich reflect. And wealth follows reflection, not reaction. When I first started on this journey, someone asked me a question I never forgot. Do you want to pay the price of discipline today or the price of regret tomorrow? Now, at first glance, they both sound painful. But here's the truth. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. And when it comes to money, nothing is heavier than the burden of lost time, lost opportunity, and lost freedom. See, most people want wealth, but they don't want the discomfort that builds it. They want the reward, but not the requirement. That's where the poor mindset gets stuck in. Chooses ease today over options tomorrow. It trades vision for validation. And the worst part is, it feels harmless in the moment. A little indulgence here, a little laziness there. But over time, those small choices stack up into massive consequences. Discipline, on the other hand, feels like a sacrifice at first, but what it really buys you is freedom. When you make a habit of investing first, before you spend, before you splurge, you're telling your future, I care about you. You're building a life not around survival, but around choice. And choice, my friend, is the greatest luxury of all. I remember a young man I mentored years ago. He made $1,800 a month, just getting started. He told me, there's not much left after I pay my bills. I said, that's why you must invest first, even if it's $50. You're not just building money, you're building the habit that will one day protect your fortune. He took that advice to heart. Fast forward 5 years, she wasn't just surviving anymore. He was investing regularly, saving with purpose, and had more control over his life than people earning 5 times as much. Not because of how much he earned, but because of how much he respected the process. You've got to learn to say no to things that don't serve your future. That's not deprivation, that's direction. That's not punishment, it's purpose. I've always believed that the richest person in the room isn't the one with the flashiest watch or the newest carrots, the one with the most options. The one who can choose where they go, how they live, and who they answer to. And that freedom comes from discipline. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Every time you choose to wait, to invest, to stick to your priorities, you are proving to yourself that you're in charge and know your urges, not your emotions, not society. And that builds confidence. Confidence builds momentum, and momentum builds wealth. So yes, discipline costs something, but the price is far less than the pain of being stuck, broke, or regretful. Make peace with discomfort today, and you'll be amazed how free your life becomes tomorrow. When I was a younger man, I used to think success was something you chase down something out there, just beyond the next opportunity, the next deal, the next raise. But over time, I discovered something much more powerful and far more enduring. Success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. It doesn't come to those who wish for it. It comes to those who are prepared for it, those who grow into it. You see, life has a way of handing rewards to the deserving, not the demanding. It doesn't respond to your needs, your complaints, or your intentions. It responds to your standards, your discipline, and your decisions. If you want to be wealthy, then don't start with your wallet, start with your character. Start with your habits. Because if you become valuable, the world will pay you for it. I'll never forget the day my mentor told me, if you want to have more, you must become more. At first, I didn't quite understand. I thought, but I'm already working hard. I'm trying. But trying is not becoming, and working hard isn't the same as working right. I had to learn that it wasn't just about doing more, it was about becoming better. I had to invest in myself before I expected others to invest in me. Start small if you must. Read books, listen to good ideas. Hang around people who are more disciplined, more focused, more experienced than you. Don't look at what they have, observe who they are, how they speak, how they carry themselves. Success leaves clues, and if you study the habits of the wealthy, you'll see a pattern, clarity, consistency, discipline, and self-respect. Those traits show up long before the money does. Some people say, when I get rich, I'll change. But that's not how it works. The changing comes first. The growing comes first. And the money follows the growth. You have to plant the seed before you can harvest the crop. You don't get a rich life without building a rich mindset. You don't get financial freedom without first earning personal freedom. The freedom from laziness, excuses, and fear. And let me tell you, this is not about perfection. It's about direction. Every step you take toward becoming more organized, more focused, more valuable, you move closer to success. You don't need to chase money when you're the kind of person who attracts it. Wealth is not looking for noise, it's looking for order. It's looking for discipline. It's looking for someone who has earned the right to keep it once it arrives. So instead of chasing results, chase refinement. Instead of running after success, become the kind of person success has no choice but to find. Because when you grow, everything around you grows. Your opportunities expand. Your influence rises. And your income follows not because you hunted it down, but because you became someone it couldn't ignore. You know, there's a kind of poverty that doesn't show up in your bank account, at least, not right away. It shows up in your thoughts. In the quiet moments when no one's watching, when your mind is spinning stories of fear, jealousy, or limitation, that's where real poverty begins. Not in the numbers, but in the narrative. Poor thinking is expensive, not because it costs you dollars immediately, but because it robs you of vision. It eats your potential before you even begin. You see, the mind is fertile ground. You plant seeds, their ideas, beliefs, expectations, and those seeds grow. If you plant scarcity, you harvest anxiety. If you plant doubt, you reap hesitation. And if you plant jealousy, you'll grow bitterness. And the worst part? These invisible debts add up. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not enough, or I'll never make it, you're swiping a card that comes due later. And the interest? Oh, it's heavy. Because the opportunity you missed today due to fear, that's a return you never see. Now, I've sat across tables with people who had million-dollar ideas and 5-cent thinking. They'd say, I just don't know if I'm ready, or I'm not like those people. And I'd ask them, who told you that? Usually no one did. They just decided it somewhere along the way. Somewhere in childhood, somewhere in failure, somewhere in comparison. And instead of rewriting the script, they rehearsed it over and over until it became their truth. But here's the good news. Just as your thinking can cost you everything, it can also buy you back your dreams. One shift, just one shift from I can't to how can I? And suddenly the world starts opening up. Not because it changed, but because you did. The world responds to your energy, to your belief, to your mindset. And when your mind says, I belong in abundance, your actions begin to reflect it. You stand taller, speak clearer, decide faster. And that's when money starts noticing. I had to go through it myself. I had years of poor, thinking, quiet self-doubt that disguised itself as humility. I'd think, maybe I should stay where it's safe. But safe doesn't grow you. Safe doesn't stretch you. And safe certainly doesn't make you wealthy. I had to unlearn what broke people taught me. I had to clear the emotional clutter, the mental junk that kept me small. Because there's no room for expansion when your mind is full of contraction. You want a richer life? Start by thinking richer thoughts. Respect your dreams enough to protect them from the poison of negativity. Be vigilant about what you allow in your mental space. Because what you think about most, you move toward. And if your thoughts are costing you peace, progress, or possibility, it's time to change the currency. Don't just work on your business, your job, or your skills. Work on your thoughts. Because until you master your mindset, you'll always pay a price. I've always believed that the words you speak are a mirror of the thoughts you keep. And nowhere is that more true than in how you talk about money. You see, the language you use doesn't just describe your situation, it shapes it. If you say, "I can't afford it," you've just built a mental wall. You've shut the door. Not just on that one opportunity, but on the idea of possibility itself. You've trained your brain to accept lack as normal and limitation as permanent. But here's the fascinating part. Your brain is obedient. If you tell it, "I can't," it believes you. If you tell it, "It's too hard," it agrees. But if you ask it a better question, something like, "How can I afford it?" suddenly your mind kicks into gear. It starts searching, exploring, calculating, creating. You give it a problem to solve, and it goes to work. That small change in wording creates a massive shift in your thinking. And that shift, it's the birthplace of wealth. I remember when I first heard this idea. I was struggling financially, buried in doubt, and trying to build a better life. Every time I saw something valuable, books, seminars, investments, I'd instinctively say, "I can't afford that." But one day, a mentor stopped me and said, "Don't say that. Instead, ask, how can I afford it?" At first it felt awkward, but I tried it. And wouldn't you know, it changed the way I saw opportunities. Instead of seeing doors that were closed, I started noticing doors that could be opened with effort, creativity, or persistence. That shift took me from a passive victim of circumstance to an active designer of my future. The poor speak in absolutes. I'll never make that kind of money. People like me don't get rich. It's just not possible. These statements are not facts, they're declarations of defeat. But wealthy minds speak in potentials. They say, "I haven't done it yet. What do I need to learn? Who can help me get there?" One keeps you stuck. The other sets you free. It's not just about positive thinking, it's about precise thinking. Language is programming. Every word you say is an instruction to your mind. So when you speak about money, be intentional. Instead of, "That's too expensive," say, "That's a premium investment, Thal. Could I make it work?" Instead of, "I'm broke," say, "I'm building." Instead of, "I'll never have that," say, "I'm on my way to earning that." Let me tell you, wealth starts in the mouth before it ever touches the hands. If you want money to chase you, stop cursing it. Stop pushing it away with fear-filled phrases. Start speaking in alignment with where you want to go, not where you are. Because the tongue is a tool, wield it well, and you'll carve out a fortune. There's a truth many overlook in the pursuit of wealth. Your time is more valuable than money. It's a simple idea, yet it carries profound consequences. You see, money, no matter how much or how little, can be earned back. It can be lost and found again. But time, once it's gone forever. You can't borrow it, save it, or get a refund on it. Every second that ticks away is a moment you'll never hold again. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was younger and broke, I thought the only thing standing between me and success was money. I believed if I had just a little more cash, I'd be able to fix everything. But it wasn't just money I was losing, it was my time. I worked long hours in jobs that didn't teach me, didn't challenge me, and didn't bring me closer to my dreams. I traded my precious hours for pennies, and I didn't even realize how expensive that trade was. The wealthy understand this principle deeply. They guard their time fiercely because they know it's their most precious asset. They don't just count dollars, they count minutes. When you value your time like gold, you start making different choices. You stop wasting hours on things that don't matter. You delegate tasks that don't require your unique talents. You invest your time in learning, growing, and creating value. You become not just a worker, but a wealth builder. Think about it. If you had $1 million, but only a day to spend it, what good would that money do? But if you have your life's time and use it wisely, you can create a legacy far greater than a single payday. The wise know that a few hours spent on education, networking, or planning today can multiply your income and impact tomorrow. When I began to truly value my time, I started to say no more often. I stopped agreeing to every request, every distraction. I scheduled my days with intention. carving out moments for what mattered most. I realized that spending hours on trivial pursuits was like giving away pieces of my future wealth. And the more disciplined I became with my time, the more my bank account grew, not because I worked harder, but because I worked smarter. Don't let the chase for money rob you of your time. Don't be tempted to sell your hours for a quick buck that leaves you empty. Instead, invest your time in what builds you, what stretches you, and what leads to lasting success. Because when you respect your time, money will start to respect you back. The richest people aren't just those with the most money, they are those who know how to own their minutes and through that own their lives. To build true wealth, you must master a delicate balancia mindset that thinks in decades but acts with the urgency of today. The wealthy don't just chase quick wins or short-term thrills. They set their eyes on a horizon far beyond the immediate. They think in terms of legacy, of the kind of life and impact they want to leave behind, long after they are gone. But here's the secret. While their vision stretches into decades, their daily actions are sharp, intentional, and relentless. When I first started out, I had dreams of success that seemed distant and overwhelming. It felt like I was climbing a mountain with no summit in sight. But I learned that no mountain is conquered by a single leap. It's the steady, focused steps day after day that move you closer to the peak. Every day matters. The discipline to act today on your goals is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Wealth isn't a lottery. It's a long game. It's not built on random bursts of effort, but on consistent, purposeful work. The rich understand this deeply. They don't wait for perfect conditions or sudden inspiration. They create momentum through small, disciplined actions that add up over time. It's in how they treat every day, every task, and every decision that their fortune is forged. Think about the great empires of history. Their builders weren't impulsive or short-sighted. They had a vision that extended beyond their lifetimes, but they moved forward with precision, focus, and an unwavering commitment to their daily routines. It's the same principle that applies to your financial life. You must nurture the habit of thinking big while executing with intensity and clarity each day. I remember early on when my own journey felt slow and uncertain. I kept asking myself, what can I do today that will make a difference tomorrow? That simple question became my compass. It kept me from getting lost in distractions and impatience. I focused on learning, networking, and creating value one day at a time, knowing that the compound effect of these actions would build something lasting. So, don't be discouraged if your progress seems invisible in the short run. Think like a farmer planting seeds, not a gambler chasing quick wins. Prepare your fields with care, tend to your crops with patience, and trust that in time your harvest will come. The power lies in combining a grand vision with a disciplined daily grind. Think long-term, act short-term, and you'll watch your life transform into an empire built on intention, resilience, and unwavering focus.